Welcome to the Codeplay Culture podcast, where we discuss tech, gaming, health, and the world around us.
Welcome back, everyone, to Codeplay Culture podcast. Rui and Logan back at it again, rapping again with a bunch of friends. We are talking about retro gaming today. Rui, what's going on?
Retro gaming, man. Nothing going on. Just here, getting my retro game fix. You know, chatting about old games, playing old games, getting into the mindset. That's it, man.
Retro shirt on, man.
Oh yeah, man.
Say, all your beer are belong to me. So, like, that's for those that don't know, that is what a throwback to.
It's a it's a throwback to an old game. I can't remember the name.
Is this Space Invaders?
No.
Is it?
It was
Asteroids?
No. It was shoot. What was it called? Oh, Zeroing on the Sega Genesis. I had to Google that. Basically, it was all your base are belong to us. That was one of the cutscenes, and that became a meme, of course, as you know,
because of the translation, like probably like a Japanese made game or whatever it is, and
exactly.
It was you know CodePen. Yeah. So like for the I gotta stop saying for those that don't know, but for those that don't know, CodePen is just a way of like taking some HTML or CSS, JavaScript, some like web code, and like putting it online for people to use, consume, and rank. Like, oh, this is really good. But they sent out. I subscribe to their newsletters of like, I think it's like once a week. It's really useful to see some of the highlights of the community of what they've made, and they kind of ended it with like all your base are belong to us or whatever. Nice. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, because like if you're gonna like do something like that, you gotta be like borderline nerdy, but also a little cool too, right? Because if you go super nerd, then you're not cool. If you try to be cool, you're not cool. So it's kind of like weird.
Yeah, that balance is you need that balance, right?
So retro gaming and how it's like changed over the years with remakes and remasters, and how the level design of the previous ones have influenced the future versions. When I got an Xbox 360 when it came out, and it red ringed of death like 4 times, meaning that they luckily replaced it brand new 4 times with 3 additional consoles because of that red ring of death. Basically, like when you get these red rings on the power, and then it would not power on anymore. It's almost like the graphics card died, or the power supply, or it melted or whatnot. And I remember they were coming out with this thing called anyhow, like I loved Xbox 360 and all that stuff. Of course I would suffer that endurance because I just loved it. And they were releasing this tech called Video Games Live, right? Sorry, not Video Games Live, Xbox Live Arcade. So Video Games Live is the Tommy Tallarico concert, which by the way is awesome. And they would re-release retro games a bit, right? But with like a new like updated graphics and whatnot. One of the ones on there that I fell in love with, I never played the original. It was Geometry Wars.
Oh yeah.
And then they came out with Geometry Wars 2, and it was just such a steampunk, explosions, Tron like top down, dual twin stick shooter, right? Yeah. So like your left stick on the controller will move your character, and the right stick will choose the direction to fire in, which means that you can, go to the right, and then you can point to the left. So go to the right with the left stick. Actually, if I explain this properly, go to the left with the left stick and point right with the right stick would mean you would veer to the left and shoot to the right. And then you could kind of move around with this twin stick action and just point and shoot, which that I never experienced that kind of controls, but that was in retro games for a while, the twin stick level.
Smash, Super Smash TV, right? That one comes to mind when I think of twin stick.
Yes, that was the OG one, right? And everything else copied that controller style. Like, I believe that there wasn't anything, earlier than that one. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what's your favorite twin stick, either retro or retro reboot?
So retro reboot. I'd have to say, so for retro, I'd say Smash TV. That was the one that stands out to me. That was the OG, and yeah, that was my first brush with twin stick, and I loved it. I think that was my favorite, in terms of retro. But there have been some other ones that were really cool. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there were like couple of zombie fighting games. What was that one called? Alien Nation? I can't remember now.
Yeah,
It was a twin stick
one.
Do you remember that zombie one on PS3?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so that one was really fun.
Let's just look at
Zombie Nation.
Zombie twin stick. Twin stick shooter is a PS3, right?
Yeah,
Dead Nation.
Dead Nation.
Yeah,
I was pretty close.
Man, I haven't tried that one, and that was like
that game is fun.
Yeah.
Yes, it was 1080p. It had to be, right? It's PS3.
Yep. Did you see that announcement from Sony? It was about 4 days ago. Or I guess if people are looking for the exact, I think it was the 25th of May. Sony had a conference and they announced these new noise canceling PS5 earbuds and also the new controller that has a giant screen in it that looks like the Wii U or the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, so you can stream your games, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Interesting that they didn't go too much into it, right? And they said stream your games locally on Wi-Fi, right? So then if you think about it, that's exactly what Wii U did, where it wasn't Bluetooth, it wasn't 2.4, gigahertz wireless. I mean, it could have been, but the technology was Wi-Fi direct. So the Wii U direct to the Wii U console, and you get a lot of good, 1-to-1, no zero to low latency. You have to be relatively close,
right? Yeah, because the range is not very far, right?
Yeah, but that'd be kind of cool for retro games or anything where imagine, as a coder, you and I sitting at our desk, we get like a piece of work that we're working on for, current client. And then they'd be like, okay, add this, add that. So we do that, we commit, and we want to just take, 5-10 minute break. We got this controller sitting on our desk that is like Wi-Fi direct to PS5. Yeah. And we're just like, let's play a little, Asteroid Space Invaders or full blown Metal Gear Solid, Omega. Is it Omega or Omega remake Snake Eater? Do you see that?
No, I didn't, man.
So, Snake Eater or Metal Gear Solid 3, or it's, so obviously, Hideo Kojima is like, screw you guys, I'm going home, and, does his own thing. And then, but Konami's like, well, we don't need you. We got Metal Gear Solid. And he's like, and then he's like, try to make one without me. And then they're like, oh, he's right. You know what? But we're just going to go down the remaster route, right? So they announced it's not called Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. It's called Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. And Delta apparently is a throwback to, there was like a Delta team that they were all part of, or the kind of politicians and stuff. So it is Snake Eater. They showed like some awesome cutscenes of different bosses, like the parrot from the boss, The End, the toad from the boss. Forget that they had all these cool names like The End, and but anyhow, I'm excited about that one because, knock on wood, how could they mess that up if they all they have to do is so I got to knock on wood again, because that seems like the karma or the Murphy's Law on that is like exponentially high, the way that I said it there. So yeah, that's not retro, but this whole remaster thing is a way to relive these games, right?
Right.
I never played my earliest brush with like very old games. This is predating my first console was NES. Was a neighbor had I think like an Atari 2600, or I'm not sure if that was the second one, but they had games like E.T. and Pitfall. and it had that controller with like the joystick and a button, like a red button. But what was it for you? Did you have like Commodore 64 or any of that kind of stuff?
No, my first console was an NES, so that was my first system, first one I engaged in and played for hours on end. Was an NES. Man, I didn't have any friends that had Commodore or PC. I did have a friend that had a PC. That was at the same time I had an NES, right? And PC games were always this like, you know, untapped world, this mysterious, you know, this mystery, right? That's how I saw PC retro gaming. It's like this big mystery to unravel. But yeah, I had an NES, and that's all I played, man. Atari, that was before my time for sure.
Isn't it nice that like with NES, like with the controllers not being wireless and no internet connection, because internet either didn't exist or it was just like, I can't remember, because I think the first like internet enabled console was like the Dreamcast or the PS2, but can't remember.
Yeah, it was one of those. Yeah,
with Star Fantasy Online with Dreamcast,
and then Final Fantasy Online with PS2.
But like you would just sit with your spouse. You would sit with your sibling or your friend. Yeah, I was married at like 5. It was forced. It was like a harsh upbringing. Like there's still lawyers looking into, not lawyers, like law enforcement. Sit on the carpet, you know, in front of the TV, you know, eyes glued to it for hours with a friend. And then I remember like my parents would make fun of me when playing like Super Mario, because like I'd hold the controller, never experienced this. And when I would jump over the crack, I would tilt the controller like I was trying to get over. So I'd jump, and like I thought if I could just, you know, bring my arms far to the right, I would just make the crack. But it's funny that, you know, then they go and put motion controls in, you know, because that's kind of natural. But yeah, they did remake a lot of that stuff too. Like the side scrollers is a whole retro remake, you know, plethora.
Yeah, they have. And you know what? Couch co-ops were amazing, man. Playing back in the day with your friends. Yeah. Just all sitting next to you, you know, your siblings. It's it's a magic that you can't replicate, man. Online gaming is fun, but it's not the same, right? Yeah. It's not the same. And you know, you sit there, you know, you're sitting there playing an online game, you do something, you're typically silent, right? You know, you're just, who are you going to talk to? But when you have people next to you, man, you know, you got your buddy there, you just whack him in the arm. No, you tease each other. That magic is gone. But they still, of course, make couch co-ops even today, right? There's still couch co-op games, and some good ones.
I would say, you know, probably controversial, but I will say, if you for a second just completely cast aside maybe GoldenEye on Nintendo 64, I'm a firm believer that split screen ruined couch co-op for the world. So if you can if you can just mentally park maybe GoldenEye and any kind of ones that really did it well, it is just awful taking, like, even if you have an 85-inch TV and dividing that in 4. Right. So the kids and I have been going on this rampage of finding local couch co-op multiplayer games without split screen. So the one that we're playing, and dude, you and I have to play when you come over next, is a new, I think it's called Adventure of Sackboy, which is the new, you know, Little Big Adventure, not Little Big Adventure,
Little Big
Planet, whatever the Sony, Little Big Planet. And you just, you know, it's a drop in. As soon as you connect the controller, it's all on one screen, work as a team. Obviously the difficulty will linearly or exponentially get more difficult as new players join, because they have to scale the difficulty. But no split screen. You're all on there. And I first noticed this opinion, which again, controversial, but you know, I do believe that it pretty much, if split screen never came into the picture, well, if it never came into the picture, there would probably never be any online, you know, because then, you know, you could logically think each of those 4 screens could be their own console.
Right. It was an evolution, right?
Yeah. A necessary evolution. But that, if you think of the split screen as like divisions, like we're divided, we're not playing the same game, we have our own thing, the
Yeah.
divide and conquer thing. It's not really a team building kind of thing. It's more competitive and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, all in one, whether it's, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, whatever,
Right.
or just like a top down isometric team
Mm-hmm.
game. And the other thing I think that really buried that really messed up the couch multiplayer is the competitiveness. Not everyone loves to just jump in and compete with friends, because some people
Right.
are like, no, like, can we all be on the same team? Whether that's an adversity to losing, or a adversity to competitiveness, or the person you're playing with is like a sore winner or a sore loser,
Right.
right? That kind of stuff. Like, so I would say the funnest thing ever is, we're all on the same team, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there's no split screen. And we're working to build together, or, have a common set of tasks and goals.
Right. I love split screen, man. I have to say,
Yeah.
I think split screen's awesome. There's this cool one. The problem with cheating when you have split screen, right? You can see where the guy is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So PlayStation, or I bought a game on the PS Store called Screen Cheat.
Yeah.
It's a split screen game. Have you seen this game?
No.
So it's a split screen game. 2 or 4 players.
Yeah.
And the object is to screen peek and see where, because all the characters are invisible. So you're playing split screen, they're both invisible. So you have no choice but to look at your enemy's screen, or your person sitting next to you screen.
Yeah.
In order to kill them, you have to gauge their position and where they are, and then shoot in that direction. So it's called Screen Cheat, and it's fabulous, dude. What a game!
That's cool. That's cool. We gotta try that. That's on
so
PS4.
Good, it's on PS4. Yeah,
nice.
I have it in my library, so I can next time we get together, we can play it.
Those other ones, like the Fall Guys and anyone where it's like ragdoll physics and flopping around, those seem to be really fun too.
They're fun, like Gang Beasts, right? That's couch co-op all on one screen, and it's fun. But Fall Guys is not couch co-op, right?
Right. Yeah, it's single player, right?
Yeah, it's online multiplayer only.
What was the one that we were playing before that had the kind of Fall Guys look, like they're kind of gelatinous characters, but it was like, falling off a building and trying to get up, and like,
so that was
holding on. And, that was it. There was another one that was on, PlayStation Plus subscription. And it was like you're 2 astronauts and you're just floating through space, and you got to hold each other's hands and like use the right stick to pull things off. It's like each stick is like a limb, right? And it's kind of like, it's fun. It's like, it's frustrating, right? But it's really fun. I think it was like kids enjoyed it, and I don't think they spent enough time to it to really get into it, but it is challenging. Like the fact that you like throw everything out the window, of like a control scheme, right? And it's like relearning how to use the controller, right? But Mortal Kombat 1, you see that?
Oh yeah.
It is a remaster, remake, and again of a retro game. When that came out on NES and Sega Genesis had blood, and NES had dirt. Like it looked like little dirt mud. It was mud that came off the people. But that's interesting. But I don't know, like Mortal Kombat went way, it's like they were almost into like, like rap, and then they went into like hardcore gangster murder music, because like so much like skull cracking and like all that stuff, where like it was like that, back in the day, but it was like touches where it's like, now it's like I watch it, it's like, geez, like
it's pretty extreme, right? Yeah,
I'm like, holy moly, like I need to fast, not have food in my belly while I'm watching this stuff, right? But that's kind of violence. Cool. Yeah,
but that's a bit over the top violence now.
Yeah,
they should probably calm down with that.
Yeah,
but yeah, way back it was fun, man. What a fun game, and that whole blood thing when you're a kid, and then you realize that you're playing the Nintendo version. You realize that Genesis has the blood. You feel cheated. I felt cheated, man.
For sure.
Like, where's my blood? Where's the blood, man?
Yeah, and now they just have blood as like a setting. So sometimes like
Mhm.
I'll go, I mean, it's hard to like, turn off that kind
BlendJet, the portable blender that allows you to make delicious and healthy smoothies on the go. With its powerful motor and compact design, you can blend your favorite fruits and veggies anytime, anywhere. Say goodbye to unhealthy fast food and hello to a healthier lifestyle with BlendJet.
For 12% off a BlendJet 2, use coupon code CODEPLAY12.
of stuff, but
Yeah.
if I have maybe one of my kids sitting next to me and there's a game where I can dial back the violence so it,
Mhm.
I'll definitely do that, or
Yeah.
I'll put on a wholesome game to play,
Yeah. Some games
within
still
reason.
have that gore toggle.
Yeah.
Like even today, I saw a more recent game where you can toggle the amount of gore and
Yes.
blood.
Yeah. I think Last of Us, Uncharted, and even Resident Evil 4 remaster has a dial, which I
Mhm.
think is like blood on and off, the gore level up and down, and that
Yeah.
would just be like, hey, for the blood part, maybe there's like when you shoot, instead of like some spray, it'll just like go, like almost like a punch,
Right.
and that's because it's a slippery slope with that, right? Because yes, it's definitely a functional convenience to have in like situations where you're protecting certain people, like a parental
Mhm.
control situation.
Right.
But it's a slippery slope where like I noticed in Resident Evil 4 remaster, the amount of
Mhm.
settings that are in that game almost suggests that they kind of didn't 100% know what they wanted to do. And they're like, you know what? Leave that up to the end user. Because if you
Right.
overdo settings, even in like apps, right, or websites,
Mhm.
then it's almost like, Steve Jobs would say that, we're going to tell them what they want as opposed to let them pick and them be wrong,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a slippery slope, but I would say if you're going to provide all of these options, just whatever options like are default should be like, what the Steve Jobs level of this is what they want should be.
Right.
But as you know, RE4 was not like that. And you and I were both getting motion sickness from it,
Yeah.
from the default settings.
That's right.
And that was really weird, right? Never had
Mhm.
that since PSVR. Like, just, okay, now I'm sick, because I'm playing this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knew you don't have to add so much to just have something beautiful, right?
Right. Of course, man. So there's beauty in simplicity. That's for sure.
Yep.
But yeah. So going back to retro, man, retro. What do you think the best retro company is? Going back to like the '80s decade.
Yeah.
Who do you think was the one? What was the pinnacle of that decade?
It was like the NES days, right? Or no, that's
NES.
before that.
No,
In
'80s. That was
90s. Was it?
NES was '80s.
Okay, it was okay.
I'm pretty sure it was like
Um,
85 to like
okay, fair enough.
90 something. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah, okay. I mean, Nintendo, like, starting as a pachinko. There's some kind of like arcade level of gambling company with cards or something, like
right,
their
right.
origin. Like that really, spring booted them to prosperity on the first party games. Like they just created these beautiful characters that were so captivating. Like NES had Zelda. Um, Donkey Kong, I think, was out before that in arcades with,
Hmm.
the first sighting of Mario going up the platforms. Um, I really feel like Nintendo came out on top with that console war, and then
Right,
Sega has been struggling ever since to produce a Sonic the Hedgehog that just is okay, right?
right.
Every new one, they're like, how about this? How about that? And like, I'm not sure where they're getting the money for this, and even though the last Sonic that came out was like Frontiers or something, was
Hmm.
incredible, right? It's just I feel like there's not an appetite for it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, right?
Sonic has always been a good game, man, ever since
Yeah,
its inception. It's always been good. But yeah, it
yeah,
hasn't gained the traction that Super Mario has, right?
yeah. And yeah, but I would say the pinnacle for me was I'm just finding my love for games, and it just snowballed from there. I'm like, what
Mhm.
other platforms can I experience games on? And trying to get a PC and trying to get, and Super Nintendo was like, wow, this is like way better, you know, and the controller just fit, you know, your hands and so that was the whole thing. I never had anyone that had like a Jaguar or like a 3DO or I didn't know a lot of people at the time that had like computer games. But yeah, for me, it was like that whole console war of like NES, SNES, Nintendo 64. Yeah. Actually, if you even back up before Nintendo 64, the NES and the SNES was really like the dominant. Yeah, they were like just dominating. And then when N64 came out, it was kind of in competition at the time, I believe, with PS1, which is like it went CD-ROM based. Or I'm not sure like who, you know, what struck first. And there was this kind of, you know, N64 was dabbling with the CD-ROM technology, but they opted and took it out. But I remember going over to my friend's house. We'd have like birthday parties, sleepovers. We just play the heck out of, you know, Super Mario 64. And that was like revolutionary, even though that, you know, that controller was just so weird. Like the Trident, you know, like just really weird. Like coming from where they started, they're like, this is the controller you need. Right. And then SNES were like, here's a better one. And then almost every other console was like, you know, big ups to Sony came out with their controller that has not, you know, for the most part changed, you know, in what, 25 years. It still has the 4 buttons. Maybe they added the twin sticks after PS1 released.
DualShock 2, right?
Yeah. And they had the L&R at the top. And like that was Nintendo or SNES and NES form factor, this kind of like chocolate bar horizontal controller.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo was like, you know what? Throw everything you know about everything, like every other console, right? Which they had to differentiate themselves, I guess, because they couldn't, you know, slay the, you know, the numbers on the performance because they didn't have the money, I guess Sony and Microsoft did, right? So they had to go innovative with like motion controls and Wii U with like a screen built in.
Yeah.
And GameCube. Actually, GameCube was like one of my favorite consoles
That
ever.
was a great console, yeah.
And those games
it had a Game Boy player.
Yes.
Which was
yes.
Nice.
And they had this game, it was called, I think, the 4, it was like called the 4 Zeldas or something. I don't know what it's called, but it was like 4 links on the screen. They were all different colors. And forget the name of it, but you would have to, in order to play that multiplayer, you needed the GBA adapter for the GameCube. So everyone, because if you think about it, you have 4 different links on the screen, right? And you're playing couch co-op multiplayer. If one link goes underneath into like a dungeon, it has to go down to the GBA screen to show you where you are, while the other 3 are on the TV screen, right?
Yeah.
It was that one and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on GameCube.
I remember that one.
That you needed the GBA adapter for certain things, right? But yeah, they remastered that too, Crystal Chronicles on PS4. Yeah. And I got the physical, but I had to get it imported from, I think, Japan or something.
How much did that cost you? Was it?
I think it was like pretty much double. But I mean, thanks to region free, it's pretty nice. Right. And then Baldo was from, you know, Europe, and that was pretty much double. I mean, if you're going to buy it, you know, and if you're, you know, pro physical or whatever, you know, it's reasonable. And I sent Nate a share of like Final Fantasy 9 remake. And then I was like, oh dude, I never knew that they were remaking this. And I was like, oh shoot, this is a video clip from 5 years ago. So it was like it already came out, but I think it was just mute for me because that was like the black bars on the left and the right of the TV. They didn't really stretch it. They didn't really they basically took the core code or the PC version and just shoveled it out for 59. But it's a good opportunity to get rid of those old PS1 discs. Like, I'm not sure if you do that, but like if you have any super old physical games, I end up like just throwing them out or charioting them once I get the remastered on PS4 or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, I don't want to carry that much, you know, physical, but I do want the best version of the game. But like, do you find yourself doing that with PS3?
Nope.
You keep them all?
No, man. I keep them all, man. I keep them. I keep these relics, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to like end up having, you know, be old and having a shit ton of crap. And, you know, I'm not a hoarder by any means, but, you know, they're small. They're in little packages. They're little boxes. Just let, you know, store them. I don't buy too many games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do keep them. Even if I get a remaster, I do have some remasters from that I bought on PS3 original and then remasters on PS4 games that I absolutely love. But I keep them both, man. Yeah. I can't part with it.
Yeah. I think I'm a little different in general, but specifically because of like, I think one of the biggest regrets in my life was, you know what, I'm going to just like take all of my games, throw out all the boxes and put them in a CD book.
Oh, right? Dude.
And I did that. It was, you know, at the time it's like, I think it was like $20,000 worth of games, right? Like going back to, it was PS1, PS2, PS3, GameCube. It was like all of these, like it was probably like over a couple hundred boxes, like, you know, the DVD cases, right?
Yeah.
Even the friggin' jewel cases from
books
PS1,
and all.
the books. And so it was hands down, like, you know, the biggest regret of like, you know, the media, like what I did with my media. So when I say that I throw out the old one, it's a way for me of like, you know, accepting that blunder from the past and be like, okay, I got the new box. Cause I could clearly go out and just get or like from cdcovers.cc or whatever, download and print the cover and put it in a, you know, vanilla thing. But I'm like, it's a way for me to like, okay, I got that one. Now I'll throw out the old one. But yeah, it was like, that was pretty bad. And,
yeah, man. You know what? Man, never jump on those kind of trends, man. When CD books came out, CD binders came out, everybody was just tossing their cases out, just putting it in binders. Like that trend, man, that trend is, don't jump on trends like that. Just wait a bit.
I wonder if I can have you ever gone to Toy Rat in Milton?
No.
So he's open like 2 days a week, I think. It's like, you know, like imagine Microplay or, you know, like there's one at, you know, Brampton Shoppers World or whatever. It's like got a lot of like older games, but it's like way, way crazier. Like almost like a museum of everything. Like,
nice.
I remember I dropped off some stuff. I had an extra Xbox 360 HD DVD player. I dropped them off, you know, just to help his collection. But if you ever want to go there, let me know. It's on Main Street, Toy Rat. And I would say the biggest collection of every single game accessory like ever that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And maybe I could get some boxes off him and like, you know, put my discs in his boxes and, you know, buy the boxes. But he probably doesn't just have the boxes, but he might. I mean, if anyone's going to have it, like when people are throwing this stuff out, I don't know. Yeah. They probably threw it out. They probably didn't bring it to a place, actually. But
fuck, I mean, back in the day, nobody really thought about the future, right?
Yeah.
Just toss it out.
Arcades, right? Where retro started, or not retro started, where retro was evolving. There's that whole thing where like people are setting up full blown in their house like arcade cabinets that either have a lot of games on them or a single focused game with the actual hardware.
Like the original.
And I remember I used to just watch people pump in quarters to various ones, like the Michael Jackson game where you could be like 4 different Michael Jacksons and like the powers that he had to just nuke all these zombies and stuff and Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat. And like, I just remember watching people just shred people.
Dude, I grew up at arcades, man. Like in Toronto, man, it was just like arcades everywhere. There was a really big one on Yonge and Dundas. I I spent a lot of time in that at that arcade, man. Spent a lot of money and time. And
Yeah, man.
it was like there were lineups to play Street Fighter. It was like competitions, and then winner stays on, and it was insane, man. Plumes of smoke everywhere.
Yeah,
because you could smoke in arcades at that.
Oh, really?
During that time, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I remember. I think it was in a movie called The Wizard or something like that. The guy had like a Nintendo thing on his arm. That accessory that you had a keyboard or something on from Nintendo. It's called, I forget what it's called. Like Game Boy VR or I don't know, whatever it was. It was like red right now. I think the company thing was like this arm thing, but
like a Virtual Boy.
Yeah, Virtual Boy was Virtual Boy. The accessory was the arm, or the arm was something else.
I think the arm was like was a glove, the power glove.
Yeah, maybe. The power glove. Yes. So I think there was a movie called The Wizard or something like that, and the power glove and stuff like that. I just remember. I think it was in that movie or somewhere else where like the guy's on the arcade machine and he's like, dude's been crushing it for hours on a single quarter, like, because it's like, and I just remember you walk into the arcade and there's like, at Aaron Mills, there was like this, older guy with like, very, tight professional looking clothes. And he had like on his belt buckle, all these like quarters where he just like pops them out and gives them to you. Cause he was essentially the
like Pez dispenser.
Pez dispenser for quarters, he's like, give them, but now they created vending machine level things for that after. Right. But I just remember like you would go at Aaron Mills, you'd hit the arcade, which was next to the movie theater inside, right? So you like hit the arcade, go to the movie, and then in the main area, there's like this putt golf stuff. So you'd have like birthday parties there. It's like, man, arcade. And it was always like better experience visually, graphically,
always
auditorially with the arcade machines. And you bring it home, you're like, this, it's pretty good, but it wasn't the same.
Right.
But yeah,
arcades are awesome, man. Have you ever played one called Operation Wolf?
It was a gun where you had like the grenade on the side.
Yeah, man.
Oh my gosh, that brought back memories, man. Where did you play that?
I grew up playing that game at the arcades, man.
So at Delta Hotels, like my mom worked there, and there was an arcade there, and that was one of the games there, and I would just go play. Nice. It was like next to the outdoor pool and next to like this squash indoor, tennis thing. And I just remember like sometimes wouldn't even have a quarter. I'd just like stand there holding it. As people walk by, they think I'm playing it, but I'm like, really not. I'm like trying to be cool or something. But yeah, Operation Wolf is like crazy hard. And like, I just remember like you wanted to get those grenades on the side of the gun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
the gun vibrated
so devastating. Yeah,
it was so good. We didn't have a whole lot of obviously we didn't have a lot of money, right? So like you get a couple of quarters, but as you're running out of quarters, you realize that this is your last quarter. What are you gonna do, right? Like, fun's over. So we ended up taking a hammer and flattening that quarter, right? You don't flatten the quarter. You take 5 cents and you hammer it down to the diameter of a quarter. And you kind of drill a hole right at the tip of it, and you put a string. So for 5 cents, you can drop it in and out of the slot. Yeah, and you can just keep playing. It worked, man. 100% worked. I've done it. It worked perfectly. And you just put that thing back around your neck. You have it on a string, and you just keep on going, man.
Do you get booted for that once they found out? No, they don't. About that?
Arcades are packed. They don't know what you're doing, but I never got caught.
Wow, definitely that's not. So cool. How did you punch the hole in the nickel?
You have to use a drill.
Okay, yeah.
You have to use a drill, or you can use a nail, like a sharp nail, and a hammer. Yeah. You just need to get a hole right through, a small hole, and then just put either a fishing.
And what'd you tie, like a fishing wire?
I used the regular string, but fishing wire is your best option, right? Because it's the thinnest wire. But if you're gonna try it now, try fishing wire. I don't think they patch that.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you just got to find where the arcades are. They still have them, I mean, there's still palladium in.
But now they use cards, right? They don't use.
You're right.
Use tokens or cards and stuff. So everybody's out of luck with that hack.
Yeah, you just have to use it on the retro. But I mean, at the end of the day, like if you own a retro like thing, you probably just open up the box and you just, as soon as the quarter goes in, you just
I don't know,
grab it
man.
again.
Retro is awesome. You can use it as a piggy bank. Save your
That's
quarters.
true.
Man.
If you're looking for a unique, high-quality puzzle experience, then Wongo Puzzles is for you. Their puzzles are handcrafted and made of premium quality wood, ensuring a long-lasting and enjoyable puzzle-solving experience. Why settle for mass-produced plastic puzzles when you can have a one-of-a-kind handmade Wongo puzzle? For 10% off Wongo Puzzles, use the coupon code CODEPLAY. Save your loonies and stuff.
That's a like an optimistic way of being like, man, I got a lot of change. You know, I need to put it in my piggy bank, but I don't have time to play Operation Wolf. You know, you're like, you know what? I'd rather go spend my money because like I don't got like a week to play this game because like you got so much because the inflation, right? Yeah. So it's like it should be like toonies you're pumping in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think toonies are like the standard for Bell payphones and stuff right now, but
is it really?
Be wrong. Yeah, like I saw one the other day. It's like insert your $20 bill or I don't know, something ridiculous, but pagers and payphones.
Yeah, pagers. I remember pagers, man. Remember the codes? Pager codes?
Yeah. No, what was that?
Yeah, you know, pager codes where you text like 337 and something else, and then you turn it upside down, it says hello.
Oh, really?
You know, like the pager codes, and you like they draw text.
Did not know that. Oh, maybe a little bit. The only ones I knew of like was like *69 and *67 and.
No, they were like secret pager codes, and it's just kind of like you know that acronyms and stuff that meant you know same thing like now, right? In text
calculators.
No, you can text somebody like I don't know. I have no idea. I can't remember, man. My memory's fading. I'm like from a pager generation, dude.
Yeah. You need to get a pager. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I've asked you your age a couple times. I keep on forgetting. That's how elusive you are.
Oh, yeah. Good old ladies.
So, wrapping up retro. I mean, like, what would you like to see come out of retro reboots, or just any of that stuff in the next, I don't know, 5 years? Like, if you wanted to say, hey, I love retro, I wish they do this in the next 5 years.
Okay, so I do love retro. And what I wish is they do not touch, remake, remaster any games that I remember and hold very dearly. Leave them alone. Let them be part of history, and they're fine where they are.
Yeah, like don't ruin it, right? If you get the keys and you can dust it off and make it more beautiful, like at the end of the day, just please, 4K it or 8K it, but like don't like change the mechanics, all that stuff. Don't add too much that it ruins these childhood memories, because as you see, like, the amount of people that love certain games, and then we talk about the remaster, it's just like, no, there are certain like good ones, but like at the end of the day, like,
can you point out one good remaster?
Yeah, the Resident Evil 4.
That's a remaster. It's not a remake.
It's a remake, meaning that so they didn't just take the original. Okay, so defining remake and remaster, Resident Evil 4 in my eyes is a remake, because the areas are different. They didn't take the same assets, and like not everything is identical. And I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the maps are different. Everything's a little different. Like they look nothing alike. Where sometimes I'm in Resident Evil 4 and I'm like the remastered one, I'm like, oh, this is that area, right? Where as opposed to they did a master, not a remake, of Resident Evil 4 on Xbox 360, which made it in 4K, which everything was the same. It was just, they didn't even touch any of the like textures, nothing, right? I would say like remaster is like, hey, just upconvert the graphics, maybe change the texture packs, maybe add some light effects, anything like that. But at the end of the day, don't touch the controls, don't touch the don't add, don't remove. And in RE4 remake, they removed some stuff, right? So I'm like, fuck, if you removed, like there was one thing in RE4 remake that Ashley was driving this like mower thing that mowing down all the zombies, and Leon's on the top just sniping them all. That was completely cut from the game. There was a whole boss cut from the game.
Right.
That looked like this, I don't know, thing. It's weird. It's hard to describe stuff visually. But I would say the one that was I don't know if this was a remake, but when Demon Souls for PS5 came out, that to me was like, if that was identical to the original in terms of level and stuff, it was just basically better graphics, nothing's changed, which I believe if you're going to do a From Software game, it probably has to, because of just how technically honed that stuff was. It wouldn't feel like a Demon Dark Souls if they messed it up too much.
Right.
So I think that one is a perfect example of a remaster where they completely overhauled the graphics and stuff, but the level, the characters, they took the original code and they were like,
optimize it. Right.
Exactly. So I think that's a perfect one. And another one I didn't like is as you know, the Final Fantasy VII.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what?
Remake,
not everything has to
not
be
a remaster.
Remake. Yeah, remake. Yeah. Not everything has to be like Kingdom Hearts. You know what I mean? Like, I know that these guys went super hardcore into, hack and slash mode, and now nothing else can escape that for FF for the rest of their probably. I'm just looking for that turn-based level of, just take the Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, exactly the same, you don't have to change anything, just make it more beautiful. Like, and the cool thing about that is you just give it to a company like Blue Point Games or a remaster focused company that has experience doing it, and they'll take it verbatim, exact, and just overhaul the graphics. Nothing else changes, we don't need these new, like, we don't want, like you said, our childhood experiences degraded in any way or form, whether it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of nice, but like I kind of almost like feel like, every time I play FF7 remake, I'm like, you know what, let me turn this off and let me go play the PC version of Final Fantasy 7, because that one you could up the graphics a little bit, so yeah,
I know when they did Ni no Kuni for PS3, that game blew me away. I love that game. And then they made a remaster for PS4. So I bought that, and it's actually a remaster. It looks so much better. It's 4K.
Really?
It looks amazing, dude. Have you played the PS3 version?
Yeah. I think I do. Like, I got to pick your brain about that, because I think I have both the 4, like, but only for 4. Yeah, they did. They took the original and they just made it more beautiful and more.
It looks nice, man. It looks really nice. It looks like PS4 graphics.
Yeah.
So they remastered it. Exact same game. Mechanics are the same. The plays the same. Everything's the same. And I bought it. Beautiful. And that's how you do it.
I think The Last of Us, they came out with Last of Us Remastered. That was on PS4, right?
Right.
And then they came out with The Last of Us 1. Now, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing that you're talking about, where they just basically, everything's the same. They just overhauled the graphics.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure, because that was a bit of a departure, because they added things like ray tracing. So I'd have to like look at that screen by screen, but it would be nice to have, like, I know you can't overly, standardize things, but you know how there's the PEGI and the ESRB rating?
Yeah.
I would, like, if we're going to have this, like, no offense, shovelware remaster, like make a sequel to Assassin's Creed 11 twice or whatever.
Yeah.
Can we just please have like a logo on there that says authentic remaster or a new take remake, right?
That's a good
just
point.
like a little logo, right? To say that this is authentic. We didn't touch the original code, because what's going to happen, especially with AI, is they're going to find a way to like just decompile the code of original games and have AI remaster some of the stuff. Because you see these like fan remakes of like Ocarina of Time and Zelda and stuff like that, where they're not touching any of this stuff. They're just making it more beautiful.
Right. Exactly.
I hope the fans really get through to the companies on this point, but normally the lead game designer developer like Kojima's like, we got to do this because this is what they want and this is what I want, and then you have like Konami being like, get out of here, right? So hopefully it'll come through. But yeah, I hope that as well. I hope that there's a bunch of new retro games that come out that are untouched, unscathed, and they're just a true remaster. Give me 12K, whatever.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yep. Yeah. Keep it going, man. We'll keep buying it.
Nice. All right, Rui, thank you so much for your time today. And we'll see you guys next time on Codeplay Culture.